You've lost touch with who you are, the core of your being. You're on social media too much, you're listening to what other people are telling you. You got to listen to yourself, you got to cut all that out. You have to look at the things that you love and the things that you hate. So what you don't like is very instructive to you, right? You're looking at things that are very powerful inside of you, that are emotional. They're not intellectual, they're feelings, they're emotions, they're visceral things that you connect to. I've always followed the laws of power, which has changed things up. Interaction with boldness. Don't be afraid to do things differently. Adapt your strategy to the circumstance. It's never too late. The earlier you figured out, the better off you are, but it can happen later in life. Now I figured out at an early age that I wanted to write. I didn't know what I wanted to write, but I loved words and I loved writing, and if I didn't have that connection when I was 8 years old, all the way into high school and college, I would have been a lost soul. And I empathize with a lot of people who don't have that feeling and they're 8 or 8 in their 20s, but I've tried to tell people everybody has it. You're just not listening to yourself. You've lost touch with who you are. There are 5 forms of intelligence. We normally associate intelligence with intellectuals, with Noam Chomsky, with Albert Einstein. No, intelligence comes in all forms. Working with your hands is a form of intelligence. A carpenter has a high form. People who are support to athletically use their body, that's another form of intelligence. There's music, there's math, there's language. You have one of these frames of mind. By the way your brain is wired, you are inclined, but it's one of them. Figure that out. Got to be a bit bold. You have to embrace what makes you different. It takes time to do anything in life, takes time and hours and patience and work. So I like to tell people to go back to their early childhood memories, things that really excited them before they got mixed up with parents and teachers and all that other people telling them stuff. You got to cut all that out. I was frustrated, I was depressed. I even have to admit I had moments that was slightly suicidal, because I knew deep down that I could do something. I was different from other people. I had different experiences, and I knew that there was something I needed to express. It was a purpose to the how my life had unfolded, but I couldn't find it. I tried everything. I had tried every form of writing, every possible endeavor you can imagine. It just didn't click. So I was very deeply frustrated, and the frustration, I tell people, good thing. Negative emotions are trying to teach you something. They're trying to teach you the opposite. Something else is going on. Frustration. What would be worse than frustration would be despair, giving up, no hope. But frustration is a sign that you haven't given up. You can do something, but you haven't figured it out. So when you have those kind of feelings, look at them, and there's something positive in that. So I knew that there was something I was meant to do. I just couldn't figure it out when. Thank you. It's easy for me, a boomer, I have to admit that, to preach to you when you have gone through you've gone through a pandemic that made what looks like to be a recession, and then if you're a millennial, you went through another. You went through the crash in '08. It's easy for me to preach. You're dealing with really difficult circumstances, so a lot of people are rethinking their lives. They don't want to work and crap jobs just to get by, and I applaud that 100. Right, that's great. So you want to think about working for yourself is the ultimate position in this world, and even though times are difficult, even though it may seem like just a dream, there's so much potential out there for entrepreneurial spirit, for creating your own startup, for creating your own podcast, for going your own path in life. You don't have to follow other people and it's not like it was when I was growing up. There were things that were better back then. There are things that were a lot worse, right? You have so many more options, it's just that you're not going to reach them, you're not going to be happy in this short time that you have to be alive unless you take it seriously and still have some fun and adventure excitement. You got to listen to yourself. You have to embrace what makes you different. Foreign, I got to be making $100,000 when I'm 23 and go to law school and do all this stuff. You're gonna burn out, so kind of understand I guess the main thing I would say is know who you are, know what you're, you know deep down your core what you love, what you hate, and what you were destined to create in this world. That's like the most important process you go through. Everybody has that potential, but I know it doesn't come easy. It's a process and you have to be patient, but you have to put into work. But another skill that you cannot ignore is the social. We're social animals, and there are a lot of people in life who ignore that because they're shy, and I was very shy as a young man. I was mostly very quite introverted as well. Because they're shy, they just simply lean on their own strength, which is learning something really well, learning math or learning how algorithms or learning how to write, etc. And they ignore the social because they're afraid of it. But you cannot get ahead in this world as a social animal dependent on other people in every aspect of life unless you treat that as another skill as well. So yes, the process of looking inward is absolutely essential, but you cannot disconnect yourself from your teachers, your mentors, your colleagues. You could have all the skill in the world and know your life's tasks brilliantly, but if you continually alienate people by your boorish behavior, by your insensitivity, all of the skill level in the world will be completely neutralized by your own mistakes. Foreign, I didn't listen to other people at so many turning points in my life. I could have been discouraged. People could have said, get the I had somebody say, Robert, you're never going to be a good writer in life, you need to go to business school, etc. My parents tried to funnel me this way or that way. I was stubborn and I was rebellious and I did my own thing, and because of that I have kind of a different voice from other people, right? And when I look at books out there, I'm searching for that voice of somebody who's different, who has something different to say, who speaks in a different tone of voice, that has their blood and their personality in their writing. And I don't find it often, but when I do, it's a great thing. And so to me, success in life is kind of being who you are. There's a famous expression of the great ancient Greek poet Pindar about become who you are. It's a process of becoming who you actually are and realizing what it is. So we talked about my weirdness earlier on. Following that has allowed me to craft my own message, which is basically about opening your eyes up to the reality of the world and to what people are like. But I'm not able to do that unless I had ignored but other people tried to foist on me earlier on in life. It's never too late.